Now that I've rated and reviewed every single Star Wars film on both my TikTok and on YouTube Shorts, it's time to rank all the Star Wars films from worst to best. Remember, this is all just my opinion, and it's completely okay if you disagree with me. Also, this will only be the movies, so although I love The Mandalorian and I don't really love some of the other ones, I won't be covering them here. Before I get started, also, please make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, turn on notifications, and also follow me on TikTok. I upload daily shorts on both, so stay tuned for all of those. The Rise of Skywalker is the only film in this franchise that I refuse to rewatch. It's the only one I deem as unwatchable. I remember seeing this film for the first time and wanting to vomit for days. I mean, this film was a kick in the dick for anyone who's ever loved this world and this story. It's 2 hours of J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy taking a diarrhea shit all over this franchise, nearly killing it before Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau had to come in and save the franchise with The Mandalorian. I've tried for 3 years now to find at least one positive thing I could say about this film, one redeemable quality, but I can't. This film was a cash grab, banking on nostalgia of Star Wars fans while simultaneously ruining all the things they were actually using for nostalgia. If it wasn't just a bad Star Wars film, the movie is just a bad regular movie. I mean, reintroducing Palpatine with no explanation.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Setting up some sort of secret that film wants to confess to Rey, and then just never doing anything with that story. I mean, do you guys remember that? I mean, that would be criminal to do in an indie film. And then literally, the film's two most epic moments in the entire movie were just copies of Avengers Endgame, which had come out 6 months earlier.
I am inevitable.
I am all the Sith.
And I am Iron Man.
I'm all the Jedi.
Oh my god, it is such a joke. This film is a fucking disaster, an absolute nightmare to Star Wars. I can make an entire, hour-long video breaking down everything I hate about this movie. So if you want to see that, make sure to like this, leave a comment down below, maybe I'll work on that next. I promise the rest of this video won't be so negative. Okay, maybe a little bit more negative. Unlike The Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi actually has some positives to it. The final battle between Luke and Kylo Ren was pretty dope. The twist of killing Snoke was actually kind of intriguing and could have been cool if Episode 9 had handled it better. And, that's pretty much it. This film is not good at all, but it gets a little more credit than Episode 9. Because I don't actually believe that this one was just a cash grab. I do think Rian Johnson, who has proven at this point to be one of the better filmmakers working today, was trying to do something different and special for this saga. And in that sense, I completely respect it. This film just doesn't work, you know? It takes everything that was set up in Episode 7 and just kind of destroys it. It sets up a couple new interesting story threads, but ultimately those would go nowhere in Episode 9. Some of the CGI was sloppy, and the whole arc with Poe was really, really bad. Luke's arc, in retrospect, is not the worst thing in the world, but it's just not exactly what I wish they would have done with him. And Rose, man. I don't want to hate too much on Rose because the actress seems really nice and she's gotten a lot of hate for this character as is. But Rose is just not written well at all. The Last Jedi is not good, but I'd watch this film on repeat for 24 hours straight before I ever touch The Rise of Skywalker again. From here on out, there really isn't a Star Wars film that I dislike. The last 9 films I would gladly watch on any given day. In saying that, Attack of the Clones is the worst of what's left. The film is just boring, starting off really strong, but then after the opening, it drags through its second act. And besides a cool little Obi-Wan versus Jango Fett fight, it stumbles into its much more exciting third act. The film's dialogue is also the worst of the series here, with Anakin and Padme's stuff just being absolutely hilarious.
I don't like sand.
I really do like the finale of this film, though, and I think Anakin's whole thing with his mom was really powerful. Dooku was a cool villain, and seeing Yoda fight was absolutely awesome. Overall, this is a fine movie. I don't hate The Force Awakens.
I don't even dislike you.
If I were to rate this film back in 2015, right out of the theater, I would have said it was the best thing that I have ever seen in my entire life. My hype after seeing this thing was through the roof and arguably the height of my Star Wars love, but sadly, hindsight is 2020, and all the mysteries that this film set up that led to my excitement ended up falling right flat on its face. So what are we left with? An entertaining 2-hour adventure that introduces new and interesting characters while reintroducing characters we know and love? It plays out almost beat for beat as a retelling of Episode 4. But it works fine. The film is entertaining, I'll leave it at that. If you want to know why I've grown to hate this film over time, go and watch numbers 11 and 10 again. I've rewatched this film recently and I really loved it. I don't remember this one being as fun and lighthearted as it actually is. This one is the one film in the series I feel was targeted for younger audiences, and that is completely okay. It opens up the prequel trilogy with a new flashy cast of ridiculous characters, and it also introduces us to a world that includes the Jedi and offers us our first look at a young and innocent Darth Vader. The pod racing sequence was great. The finale, specifically the final duel with new and awesome villain Darth Maul, was epic. Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor were perfect casting choices for Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. This movie is emotional. It's lighthearted, sad at times, and ultimately a great opening to a trilogy that differentiates itself from anything else in the universe. Stop hating on The Phantom Menace. Another film that gets way too much hate. I love Solo. I think it's a great film and exactly what I'd want from a Han Solo origin story, despite that not being something I ever actually wanted. Alden Ehrenreich had a tough challenge taking over a character as beloved as Han, but he did an incredible job, as did Donald Glover taking over Lando. Woody Harrelson does his thing, and he's really good at doing his thing, and Paul Bettany also was really great in this movie. This film set up something really cool, not using the Empire or the Sith as its villains, but instead focusing on a criminal enterprise type thing, which was led by Darth Maul. That's a really cool premise, and it sits in the background of this film, which ends up being a western at its core. A heist film and a western. It's insanely entertaining, well performed, it looks gorgeous, has a bunch of dope sequences, and overall, it's just an underappreciated film. Return of the Jedi is one of the best endings to any major franchise ever. And yes, I said ending, because those other 3 sequel films don't count in my mind anymore. This film is a culmination of both the original trilogy and the prequels, showing us the redemption of Darth Vader through the love of his son. Luke shows us what a real Jedi is. It's not a warrior like the Jedis from the prequels. It's not some diplomat. A Jedi is simply a hero who never loses hope. Rian Johnson? Luke never loses hope in his father, despite everyone else doing so. Luke never loses hope in his father, despite everyone else doing so. He believed from the start that he could save him, and the story of him pulling Anakin back to the light is so emotional, it almost makes you forget about the first hour and a half of this boring-ass movie. Jokes aside, the first hour and a half isn't that bad. It's your standard Star Wars bullshit, but the finale is so legendary that it carries this film to number 5. Disney's crown jewel. By far the darkest Star Wars film, Rogue One, directed by Gareth Edwards, tells a straightforward war story about the stealing of the Death Star plan. From start to finish, this film is a non-stop roller coaster, introducing incredibly interesting characters, with Felicity Jones being a standout, as well as Diego Luna, who plays Andor. Also want to shout out Ben Mendelsohn, who was fucking fantastic in this thing and does not get enough credit. I love this thing. It's the only Disney Star Wars project besides maybe Andor, which I haven't watched yet, to actually feel grounded in this human reality. I can actually connect to these characters because they aren't making self-aware jokes every 5 seconds repeatedly. They're also not reminding me constantly how strong women are and how much stronger they are than men. Look how strong these women are. Look, they're so strong they could defeat a Sith Lord who's been alive for 100+ years, despite them only having like 2 years of Jedi training. I'm sorry. But yeah, Rogue One is amazing, and it also perfected the character of Darth Vader, so there's that. I love this film. I mean, it's the first ever Star Wars movie made. It's a bit rough around the edges in 2023, but story-wise, it still holds up strong. Luke is an incredible character, immediately being someone the audience can grow attached to in this journey. Darth Vader is an intimidating villain, whether you've seen the prequels or not. His story is something that pulls you through this film. The film's structure and narrative are actually so good, it's been used many times throughout Hollywood. Actually, the exact mold of this film was used for another well-known movie called, The Force Awakens. Fuck you, Disney. Fuck you, Disney. This film is a classic. I mean, we've all seen it. We all love it. It's one of the best movies ever. Let's take the hopeful and uplifting feelings we felt in A New Hope and completely flip that on its head and tombstone pile drive it right into the ground. Empire is fucking dark, establishing the perfect mold for any film trilogy, allowing the heroes to have their asses handed to them on a silver fucking platter at the end of film 2, which gives them the ability to work towards something in film number 3. Empire does just that, starting with one of the best opening sequences in film and closing with the greatest twist in cinematic history. It's hard to argue that Empire just isn't one of the best Star Wars films ever, but easily one of the most influential movies made, period. This might just be my childhood bias, but when I think of Star Wars, I think of Revenge of the Sith. I can count on one hand how many movies I can quote from start to finish, and this is one of them. And it's sitting alongside a couple Tarantino films, a couple Nolan films, so pretty good company. I love every minute of this film. Yes, I know the dialogue is cringy. I know the high ground thing was dumb, but come on, man. What would Star Wars be without...
Hello there.
The memes in this film are legitimately the only reason why an Obi-Wan Kenobi show was ever made. There, I said it. Somebody had to say it. But seriously, this film is epic, building up to the moment we had all been waiting for. The birth of Darth Vader, which is hidden in this film, filled with epic lightsaber battles, Order 66, sad deaths, and the best final fight any movie has ever had. John Williams delivers his best score, and we get the most satisfying ending to a movie that I think I've ever seen. An ending that completely enhances the viewing experience of the next 3 films. Anakin is the chosen one, you fucking donuts. So that's my list. Leave yours down below and make sure to subscribe, follow me here and on TikTok. I'm uploading every day on both TikTok and YouTube Shorts. So yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.